know,
We're
not the beginning.
not fair.
Okay, I guess we're ready to get started. This is the Face and Select Board meeting for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Robert Vassar Town Hall. We have with us tonight Maddie Vassar, our clerk and Select Board Assistant. Eve Silverman, finally back in person from her vacation, our minute taker, thank you. Mike Jordan, Select Board member, Ron Graves, Select Board member, Sarah Stavraki, who is our treasurer, and Josh Livingston, the road foreman, and Tyler Billingsley, who's on our agenda to go over our bridge information to replace the Randall Road Bridge and the airport road bridges. So he'll be on in a couple of minutes, and then we have the folks from Matter Valley TV here recording this as well. So let's get started. First item is to approve the select board meeting minutes of June 10th, 2025. Did we want to have a chance to read that?
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve. Mike, second, Ron, all in favor? Aye. Okay. I will sign that one. Thank you. All right. Next item, approve select board meeting minutes for the employee reviews, which were held June 11th, 2025. Everybody get a chance to take a look at those? Yep. Any changes? Any questions? No? We have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes.
Ron? Mike, second.
There.
I'll make it unanimous. All in favor? All right, I'll sign that one as well. And then finally, approve the select board meeting minutes for our site visit that we did with Lauren Colich on Tucker Hill Road on June 18th, 2025 at 7 a.m. I just have to add that last part in the 7 a.m. That's not my normal time to be doing site visits.
That's it.
But anyway, do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Mike, Ron, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so those minutes are approved as well. Okay, item number 4, any additions or deletions to the agenda? Nope, okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, which is public comments, and I don't think other than our guests for the evening, we have any members of the public, so I'm going to move on to item 6, which is Tyler Billingsley, I'm sorry, Tyler from East Engineering, to talk to us about the bridge design work that he's done for the permanent bridges on Randall Road and also on Airport Road, which were both destroyed during the flood last year. So we've got temporary bridges in there now, and he's here to talk to us about what the long-term solutions could look like, I guess, right? Yeah, why don't you? And if you've got any plans?
Yeah,
look at those and
put them up on the screen.
Yeah, I can do that, or I printed, everyone has a copy
They're
of them.
really tough on the small print. I do have a full-size set if anyone wants to see them. Full size. You can put them on the screen, it's probably the best, closest to real size.
Sarah, do we have a USB? And I can put them on real quick, but. Oh, yeah. Are they on the computer? They would be on the email. I think I have a USB too, yeah.
Well, I can get a jump start.
Sure.
Tell you kind of what we've done to date and then what we've got to do left. So both of these sites, site survey's been done, preliminary hydraulics have been done, drilling's been done, and what the sticks you're gonna get have the preliminary drawings on them based on the geotech, the hydraulics and the site survey. Both of those, the temporary bridges were done really, really well. Winterset did a really good job. Really rugged temporary bridges. So they did a really nice job when the state ran out of bridges, which are kind of the easier, cheaper option, but they did a nice job of building those in there. I think Randall Road's probably the easier one to start with and a little more straightforward. It's about, I put it on a skew right now. It's kind of got a weird alignment between the road and the brook. And then the driveway and the house there, so I tried to kind of rotate the road to kind of catch that a little more with the skew. I think it's gonna drive better, plow better. It just makes more sense to build it that way. Hydraulic wise, it's a little longer that way, but it will be kind of a better flow path of that river. And I trimmed out, right now, there's kind of a knuckle where the old bridge abutment was, that kind of stuck out into the river, so the river hit that bank. And then kind of had to go up almost and then back through the bridge, so it was almost coming to a dead stop, it looked like the floor was kind of going through, so I'm trying to really straighten that out, so that water can kind of get through there without kind of stopping, backing itself up and kind of wreaking havoc on the road and the bridge. So I've got roughly 55-foot span in there now, quite a bit bigger than what it is now. I also raised it up a little bit as best I could without conflicting with the driveway and garage on the west side of it. So I've got it kind of skewed in there now, and then I rock armored the slope as you're going upstream, looking upstream on the left. I armored that slope almost up to that next pole, just because that bank, it's got rock in there, it just needs to be, I think, reset, added to, and kind of maybe a little bit more rugged. Again, to try to, get that water really going downhill instead of kind of swirling around, on that site. I've got it pegged right now at $1 million and change. I did review my concept design with Winterset, and on a gut level and unit price wise, they kind of felt that was about where it would be, assuming we bid it out next year for 2026 construction. Obviously anyone's guess with escalation and pricing, but yeah, we're at $1 million and change. At that price tag, FEMA's got a break point, small projects and large projects. Small projects is under $1 million, or $1 million and a little bit. Large projects are over $1 million. Small projects, they pay on the estimate. Large projects, they pay on the actual. So the benefit of going with an estimate at 1 point something million is if it comes in higher, it comes in 1.3 or 1.2, they're going to pay on what it costs in the end, not what the engineer's estimate was a year beforehand. It's just a tough game to play. If I guessed 900 and it comes in at 980, you guys are on the hook for an extra 80. So I like to go conservative, realistic, but conservative and a little bit high to start. It's always nice to come down on the price tag, but we were roughly in that $1 million and change range. So the cost estimates you guys had that I sent over a couple weeks ago, those are good to go to FEMA. All these plans are good to go to FEMA. It kind of turns into a black hole with them sometimes. Occasionally they'll spit out some technical questions or clarifications or break down this better. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes you gotta nudge them, especially with rotated PDNGs, kind of nudge them along, but 9 times out of 10, they end up very close to what my number is. They've got to go through their obligation process. Large projects go through kind of an extra couple steps. It's a little bit more of a thorough FEMA review just due to the size and the cost. So it takes a little longer, but again, once you have that obligated at whatever the final number ends up being, they'll pay on the actual dollars spent. So that's about what that one is. Do you have the?
No, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Do you guys want me to do, I can do a paper copy upside down?
You want to lay it out on this table and we'll try to rally around you here and take a look over your shoulder. So you were saying though, so if you estimate, and I'm asking this question because I see one of your solutions was to keep one of the bridges, I think it was the Randall Road Bridge.
Airport.
Not going to start with Randall Road, because Randall Road, it's a temporary bridge. It looks like a temporary bridge. It acts like a temporary bridge. It needs to come out. So there is no other option that no other good option for keeping that permanent. So that's why Randall Road, it's too low. The alignment's not very good.
Yeah.
Again, for a temporary bridge, Winterset did a phenomenal job, but for a permanent, 7,500 year fixed, we got to just yank that out, send it back to Winterset and really start from scratch.
Okay. All right, so then on airport roads, I think the estimate you've done was eight something to shore it up and.
I think I was something like that. Yeah. 685 is what I have.
685, okay. So in that particular situation, if that's something that we decided to go with, and I don't have no clue at all what we're gonna decide, but if the number turns out to be different than what you've estimated here, we would pay on the estimate and not, or FEMA would pay on the estimate and not on the final cost? Is that what
Right,
I'm
if it's
hearing?
under $1 million, yeah.
Under $1 million.
Under $1 million,
But I asked Kim Canarecki about this. She is good lights.
yeah, I knew.
We have the generator, it should go.
So you would be you would be, we'd have to ask FEMA upfront, and then saying, hey, you know, this site has a temporary bridge on it, it's eligible for a full-blown replacement. Which would be over $1 million. We're looking at buying the temporary bridge and some retrofits to make it more of a permanent bridge, which would be under $1 million. What's the best? What's the cleanest way to do it for the town, for you guys? Sometimes FEMA will let you do what they call an alternate project, where you take the original amount, the 1 point something million, and you can apply it to some other infrastructure in town. Which I've done before. I'm not sure how they would view it if you're taking that 1 point something million, but then reapplying it to the exact same site for
Mhm.
something that's under $1 million. I'm not sure they'd let you keep the leftover money for something else. I think they probably
So
would.
do they have a voice in which way we go?
No, I think as long as either option meets codes and standards, which I wouldn't do if it didn't.
Mhm.
You guys would be allowed to do either one.
So we're in for like 7.5%, right?
What's your, I don't know what your shares are. Town share 7.5.
Right.
All right, so FEMA would make that choice. We'd present the
Kentucky
two
fast
options.
forwarded to.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We would. I think what's worth looking at is both options. Why don't we can just dive right into airport, because it's similar, but.
Yeah.
So what I saw with airport is the bridge they put in, the road and brook have a better alignment already, naturally. The bridge they put in is long enough to meet current codes and standards. There are some things that don't meet current codes and standards that could be retroactively done to kind of bring it up to those codes and standards. Winterset, I asked Winterset, would you guys be interested in selling the temporary bridge, or do you want it back no matter what? And they said, we would entertain, you know, selling the temporary bridge as is and walking away from it. Their price was, and he ballparked it, but it was $250. That was the starting point. And then, you know, the things I saw in there that I would want to change are, the far side. The near side has the existing concrete abutment still there, still in place, acting as kind of a shield in front of the shallow abutment they poured. And it's still in reasonably good condition. It's actually a big old concrete shield, you know, one side of the brook. The other side completely washed away, or they took it out. Now it's rock armor, and it's good rock armor, but that whole hillside, I've been there 3 or 4 times, and that whole hillside is continually moving. So that river is gonna keep trying to cut into that hillside, cut underneath or behind that stone armor. And I could see a really big 50-100 year flood taking that side out, and then you lose the temporary bridge you already bought. So you'd have to do a deeper foundation, bigger wall, something on that far side to protect that embankment, to protect the bridge. And that's where the expensive part started coming in, is doing something permanent on that side and buying the temporary bridge. The other thing I looked at was they put on hemlock timbers, and then they, looks like pressure treated runners it. Hemlock timbers are done on a ton of bridges. They never seem to last more than, I don't know, every town tells me something different, but 5 years, 8 years, maybe 10 years, where they start getting really punky and not making you feel really good about driving on them. So the two options I've taken hemlock timbers out, are putting pressure treated back on. So it's easy, it's fast, it's cheap. And they'll last obviously a heck of a lot longer than hemlock, or a more permanent is take out all the timbers and put down basically like a corrugated bridge deck and pour a more of a traditional concrete bridge deck right on there. That's more of like your 75 to 100 year fix. Easier to maintain, you know, longer, more rugged, more expensive. And I included that in here. I said, well, let's start high, and if we want to whittle down, you know, the decking is something that we could, you know, figure out. So those are the things I saw in there that would need to be,
So
you know,
685 includes a concrete deck.
yeah, I believe out of concrete that time. Yeah. So it was galvanized bridge planks, which would act as your timbers, and then those bridge planks basically pour concrete slab onto. So, you know, you would end up, from what Winterset put in there, you would end up with the beams and the shallow concrete footer that they poured to put those beams on in the guardrails.
Right.
So it would take, it didn't end up as favorable as I thought it was. When I started going through this exercise, I said, boy, the town might only have to be into this for, you know, $200,000 or $300,000. That's a heck of a lot different than $1.2 million or something. But then also you start adding up all of these 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, all of a sudden I'm at 700, and I'm like, oh, 700 for fixing up a temporary bridge to make it permanent.
Mhm.
I don't hate it. I'm lukewarm on it, you know,
Not
for
ideal.
one. I guess in my mind, if a permanent bridge starting from foundation all the way up is gonna be a couple $100,000 more than sprucing up a temporary bridge with a bunch of fixes. I don't know, I mean, it's your money, not mine.
Yeah.
If it was $300,000 or $400,000 versus 1.3 million, I'd be a no-brainer. 700 versus a million and change, I'm like, I don't know. They're both viable options, I think.
Mhm.
All of these have to go through both state and our permitting and Army Corps permitting. So all of my, hydraulic calculations and current codes and our stream alteration permit, all of these things need to be met and checked. So they're both viable options. I don't know, I'm not sure which way I feel about
Mhm.
700 versus, and I think I try to go high, so I think I had 685 in there, and I think, realistically, it might come in a bit lower than that. I like to start high and work your way down, not the other way around.
How about the height on that one? If you stayed with the existing bridge and shored it up, does it give you the height? that you-
It's
you
right on the edge.
ideally-
I
yeah.
would probably, because it's a cheap and easy thing, I would probably raise it up another foot or two.
Okay,
Hydraulics for sure, and when you look upstream and you see all that debris in there, you start getting some 18-inch logs caught under a bridge.
Yeah.
Now's the time to jack it up. If you're gonna jack up and get yourself another foot or two of hydraulic clearance under the bridge,
Mhm.
do it now before there's a concrete deck on it and it's pinned down permanently and there's a bunch of other stuff, and raising that a foot or two. I talked to Winterset about that, how someone would do that, and it's a pretty easy, take the planks off, raise it up. Pour basically a little step in there for it to set on, put it back down, and then build your concrete deck. So it's. For the hydraulic extra you're gonna get and the debris extra you're gonna get. Yeah, I don't think we need to go 5 feet taller, but a couple feet will make a big difference,
Yeah.
actually, in a backflow.
We talked to, well, not directly, but exchange emails with the people at the A&R Natural Resources about the debris that's still in the river from last year's flood, and essentially the response to us was, leave it. Size your culverts and bridges to accommodate that, right? So.
Sounds easier said than done. For
Well,
someone not sizing it.
Crossways through the,
And I'm thinking, aren't the Colgans right downstream from that bridge? Upstream.
Yeah,
They're just upstream from it, okay. Because I know that they were trying to get on that USDA program to help do some mitigation.
they ended up just doing it themselves.
They did.
They hired someone, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
USDA didn't even have any money, as it turned out.
no, they
Well, it's
backed
on-
out.
They sold all that program.
Froze. Like federally, it
Right.
stopped, yeah.
Yeah,
That program was kind of not, it was a little clumsy too. It was just not a smooth, it was clumsy. A lot of towns did it and it was not super smooth, I'd say.
mhm.
So the debris is, the bigger the structure, the more debris it can handle. You start getting a 60-foot bridge versus a 4-foot culvert, and 4-foot culvert is,
One tree.
yeah, one tree or one limb, one 6 or 8 inch limb, and you've got about 30 seconds before it's gonna blow apart.
Mhm.
So unless you're sitting there with an excavator waiting to scoop out one limb that comes down, that one culvert, it's gonna go. Bigger bridges, they can handle more. They got a little bit more bandwidth. You can see the debris ahead of time. But again, for Airport Road, you've got the room to do it. There's a big hill on one side and almost a dip on the other side. Bringing that up a foot or two hydraulically, I think it's a no-brainer.
Gonna be a lot more debris down there before it's done, it just keeps sliding.
You can see it, yeah, I mean, it's really you can see it from
The bridge.
all the way up, yeah, you can see it all the way up, so it's nothing.
So can you tell me again, you used an analogy, the bridge, if we reuse the rented bridge, it's 75 years to 100. Get at it versus a.
So I would, permanent bridges, I think 75 to 100 is very reasonable. I still look at a lot of bridges that have a 1928 or 1929 stamp on them.
We got one out
Right here, there you go. I still see plenty around. So those concrete bridges, if they're, like anything else, you have to maintain them. If you drive your car without ever changing the oil or never doing anything, you're gonna blow your car apart sooner if you take care of it. Bridges, if you wash them, if you, take care of maintenance before it falls apart, it'll last longer. But I think 75 to 100 years is reasonable for a full-blown replacement. buying the temporary bridge and then sprucing it up. The beams are already used, the existing abutment that we're gonna, is already there, so I don't think you're gonna get the same longevity out of buying the temporary and repurposing it as you would a brand new bridge. I would like to think if we do all this work, you get 50 years out of it. But I don't think you can get 100. So it's, call it 50 years for argument's sake versus 100 years for argument's sake. 50 years being the sprucing up the temporary at 700,000, or 100 years for building it from scratch at 1 point something. So
And costs are gonna change.
they are gonna go up. They only change one direction in construction, it seems like.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So, yeah, 50 years is still a long time. 100 years is awful nice for the next, generation of select board members, to not have to deal with it. But you guys, obviously, between these two products, it's a lot of dollars on the table, even with only a 7.5% share, and then I know you guys have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 forwards that are, medium to larger size too, that are gonna add to that price tag. So I'm just trying to give you guys the numbers and the kind of pros and cons. I think they're both viable. It's, if you want a cost savings and a shorter lifespan bridge, I would go buy the temporary bridge.
Mhm.
If you wanna go the 100-year route, I would say return the bridge to Winterset and start from scratch.
Mhm.
I do think, I price these as individual projects. Because we weren't sure what's gonna happen. I think if both of these can go through FEMA and be bid out together, because they're similar scopes, similar sizes. As the crow flies, a mile apart, if you bid them together, I think there will be significant cost savings. It's a bigger construction package, and you're buying in bulk essentially. I think there's, money to be saved if you're able to put into one contract.
Mhm. I think that's what Winterset told us too on the temporary bridge.
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you're just kind of buying in bulk. It's a bigger, bigger project for one person. They can kind of set up here for the summer and just, their plate's full with just 2 bridges right next to each other. So it's a great option if you can do it. I try to push towns to do it if they can. It's also one contractor instead of 2 contractors chasing around. If you bid it out separately and you have 2 different contractors at the same building at the same time in town. A little bit like herding cats, it's, so it's just one person, it's a lot nicer, so.
Do you provide that supervision?
Yeah, so that's kind of where we are now. So what I need from you guys is just a review of the plans as they are. I'm not gonna walk through the plans here in a second. Option 1 or option 2 for buying a temporary bridge or going full-blown replacement. Once I get that from you guys, I take another couple passes through here, make them, call them permit ready. We'll send them into Army Corps, we'll send them into A&R, send them to FEMA. Those take months and months and months, usually the way permitting's gone at least it's 4 to 5 months for permits. Depending what they find. And then we would go into bid and I help you guys through the bid phase. We do site visits, mandatory pre-bid meetings, go out with you, talk to the contractors, have them ask questions, look at the same site. We'll do a public bid opening here, where we peel them all open, look at the numbers, see how they fall, make sure everyone's got their paperwork filled out right, they're responsible bidder. They're qualified to do the job, and then you guys pull the trigger on a contractor, then they start ordering materials and getting it in the queue for a schedule, and then I do kind of the clerk of the works, is probably the best way to put it, clerk of the works. All the paperwork, site inspections, all the concrete testing, kind of soup to nuts. You guys write the checks for the pay and for the pay recs, and then we close out with the final walkthrough.
Sounds good.
You guys wanna take a look
Yeah,
at these and see
Do that, huh?
which, you guys want me to do them this way and you guys look over my shoulder, or
Yep.
do you want me to do them upside
That should
down?
work, huh?
All right. You're welcome to see much of the time.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Opening sheets, just get oriented, GPS locations that's needed for permitting and for contractors and for everybody else, basically a sheet table list, USGS topo where things are at. As we know, as opposed to a mile apart. North is always up on my plans. I always start with for sites like this, an existing conditions plan, so as it stands now, no improvements done. You can see the road coming in here. There's that house on the corner. This is the driveway to the garage on the other side. And the bridge kind of sets in there just about like that. And this is the rock armor that Wintersets kind of put. Brook is flowing this way. And here's where I was saying, you can kind of see the rivers almost ricocheting off this wall, then going back this way, and then going through your structure. So it's not awful, but not ideal. So this is just as lay of the land as it is right now. This is what's proposed right now. So same lead-in road. I took this structure and basically rotated it this way and then skewed the abutments, offset them like this to try to better align the brook. So right now, with the proposed, it's gonna come in and do more of a straight shot down instead of that. There's still a little bit, I couldn't get it all out because of this driveway, but I tried to straighten it out and armor it with a toe boulder wall as best I could. It's single lane, it's really low traffic volume. You'd have a hard time getting a 2-lane bridge in here anyway, I think. And good line of sight, so I had no issues with a single lane bridge. I extended the rock armor, regraded it, and there's the larger span. So the existing bridge is basically here for span and here. New bridge is going from there and there. So quite a bit wider, a bit taller. Looking at cross sections, which helps out some people. This is the bridge with everything stripped off, so you can just see bridge, guardrail, and buckets. That's kind of a better, cleaner line work to see how things lay out. Cross section with the road, if you're going down the center line of the road, the existing grade is that dashed line, and it dips down into the brook and comes back up right there, and it continues on. I'm chopping out and giving it more opening there. On that outside corner where the water really wants to go. Spread footer that goes down below brook. Same kind of mirror image on this side, and then steel beams that go across. Raised it up like about a foot or so from where it is now. Driving surface level, it's about a foot higher than what it is now. That's what it would look like roughly in cross section. So you're gonna have a handful of beams going across, guardrails on both sides. Deck, we can do concrete, pavement, whatever you prefer. Concrete's great because it's rugged.
Yeah.
It's a pain for you guys to fix. Paved is nice because if it needs patched in a couple years, when you got hot mix in town for something else, you know.
Yeah, we don't really ever have hot mix.
Maybe concrete then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
probably that's where we go, right?
yeah.
You know, so that's kind of the lay of the land for Winter. This one I didn't take as far from airport because I wasn't sure which way you guys want to go yet, but similar layout. This is the existing temporary bridge. Or maybe permanent bridge. The hill going up is right here. Water flowing down this way. Here's kind of the low spot, as you lead into it from Basin Road. Here's the rock armor that Winterset put in, and this big old thing is the slope that's failing. And it's on the outside corner. So what I don't like about this is those outside corners, they get more velocity than the inside corners, and that river is gonna continue to chew on this. And once you get back into here, that is in jeopardy. So if you were to do option, you know, the buying a temporary bridge option, we would want to do something, you know, very permanent and very rugged to protect that road and bridge in that corner. Concrete wall, sheet piling wall, something deep and rugged. And that make that river, when it does lose that bank within reason, it's gonna still be able to do that without getting behind everything. As soon as it goes behind it, game over.
Yep. It's not a huge distance from here to the next road that cuts this way, Rankin Road, because this is Dale King's property.
No, yeah, right. All right.
Permanent layout, whether it's, you know, this is if you were going new, it's gonna look, drive and feel very similar to what's out there now. I mean, it's basically a pretty straight shot where the road comes across. There's no kind of funky turns, no skews. It's just everything's square going right across there. We put in, you know, bridge abutment, deep bridge abutment, wing walls to catch grade and protect you, and go down 6 feet or so below the brook. To tie it in, to make it sure that that scour is not gonna get back to that footing level. So it'll look and feel like the bridge that's out there, just be way deeper foundations and a lot more rugged.
Same width as the one that's there.
I think I had 16 foot width on this is what I usually do for 2-lane bridges. I think the one out there now is close to that.
What's the one on Randall, the permanent fix on Randall?
16. And I can change that if you prefer. Something wider or something, most people don't want narrower.
Yeah, don't want narrow.
16 works well. There's a decent manual out there that basically says if you start getting above 16, you go to 18 or 20. People, it doesn't look or feel like a single lane bridge, so all of a sudden
They try to squeeze.
which if you have two Priuses, that's fine on a 18 or 24 grid. As soon as you are crossing there,
That's how this bridge is out here.
yeah, it's just, so you wanna make it wide enough where you can plow it and maintain it without rubbing rails on both sides.
Right.
Narrow enough where people know that it's a single lane bridge. And with a single lane bridge, we'd have turnoffs leading up to it, so you have a spot to pause. We'd have signs, 1 lane bridge yield kind of thing. So we'd sign it and we'd make it narrow enough to make it obvious, or it's obvious to hopefully most drivers. I don't think I took this one very far because I didn't want to undo a whole lot of work, but it would be something like that, deep foundation. Here's the brook level. 6 feet is about where you usually go. That's kind of the lay of the land now. So these will have, you'll see them in the email and we'll stuff here for now. There's probably typos. I know there's typos. Line work needs cleaned up, but I'd like to show kind of an early cut so you guys see it as I'm progressing through the design phase. I'll do probably 3 or 4 or 5 iterations on these. After this phase, I'll notice the difference. Most people flipping through it won't notice the difference, but I have. So you'll see this kind of progress, get cleaner, more details, that kind of thing as we get down the month.
So what do you need from us tonight? A decision? No?
No, I mean, you're welcome to make a decision if you want. I need nothing from you guys right now. I just wanted to, I hadn't met a lot of you, so I wanted to kind of come down here and just kind of brief myself and then kind of walk through where we are. I think in the next couple of weeks or next couple of select board meetings, if you can make a decision on buying a temporary bridge on airport or not.
Okay,
Because I'm at a holding pattern now where I'm not gonna go any further until you guys decide. Not a big deal, because we're not going to construction until 2026.
right,
So you guys don't feel like you're rushed to make a decision.
right.
Whichever one you guys want to go with is fine with me, and I'll basically adjust my design accordingly.
What do you guys think? I mean, do we need more time to make that decision or can we make it tonight?
We all agree. And I think we could do that personally, the way I feel, I think we just go for the 100-year bridge.
Yeah,
And we have reserves, we don't have nearly enough to fix the bridge that we need.
right.
So we might as well spend it on 2 new bridges. And still have some, our reserves are what, 320? So we can cover our share, so without, so our share is gonna be. 100 no. Yeah, there's gonna be. 200,000. Yeah, 99 something each.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd say 2 new ones, because we're talking about hemlock planks, pressure treated,
I'm with you. I don't think I would.
we're gonna get more,
information.
we're gonna get more events,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna get covered by FEMA.
Right.
Right, we're so lucky that it was such a big event,
yeah.
just the county.
Lucky or unlucky, depending
Yeah.
on which side of the coin.
I said it before, but the fact that the county got hit so hard, that, we're getting help.
Yeah. And after that,
next time it could just be the 10th.
I heard it's not gonna happen on this one, but they said the 23 event, so the 2023 event. Once they start counting up dollars from each town, each county, everything else, when it hits a certain threshold. It drops from 7.5% or 10%, whatever that town's share is, to way lower. So the 2023 event, most towns who have something to fix a culvert or bridge from that got dropped 2.2%. They said it's not gonna happen on this one in 2024, but again, they said 2023, and it takes time for those numbers to start adding up to hit. I don't know what the threshold is, but
They don't know this one.
No, they don't know this number. I mean, a lot of times we're in the same boat. I mean, you guys are on pace with most other towns who have 2024 major damage.
Mhm.
Most towns have small culverts taken care of, shoulder washes taken care of, all that stuff. Big bridges, most towns are about the same as you guys are.
Mike, what do you think?
I think we should go with the new bridge.
The new bridge, yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that, so I think you can move forward with that option.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Okay, so what I'll do is,
Should we vote?
I don't know if you have to make that
No, probably
an
not.
official vote.
No,
I just say I don't need
No, we
to.
just approved it, yeah.
I mean, that's what we started at anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have to get this finalized, so then.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
When we go to bid.
yeah, okay, so
That's great.
that's a choice.
So I'll take the next. Did you send these to FEMA already
No, we
No,
are not,
okay.
we're waiting for this.
for this? Okay.
They did ask, or wanted to ask Noah a couple of questions, so I'm assuming everything that you're doing is just to get it to state level, nothing above state standards.
They always ask that question. So there's codes and
Their favorite.
standards, which is your automatic.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, I have to do it to that.
Yeah.
And then you can tie in hazard mitigation funds to that, up to the value of the project. So you can spend, if the project costs $1 million, you can put $1 million worth of hazard mitigation on top of that. It's really hard to do that. I mean, hazard mitigation stuff's like extra rock armor. You know, it's hard to get to $1 million worth of rock armor around four corners of the bridge. You know, you can make it bigger, you can make it taller.
They weren't so much suggesting that we should spend that $1 million on
Right.
hazard mitigation, but they wanted to know that the 1.3 million that we give them, that 1.3 million is just to get it to the state standard.
Yes.
That 300,000 of that is not extra.
No.
Okay, that was all.
Okay. I think we're good, if you're good, you get
Yeah.
everything you need to move
Um,
forward.
I wrote up like crazy on these, but I can certainly leave these here, send you guys a fresh set, just for flipping through. On smaller sheets, the font gets to like microscopic, so unless you got a microscope,
Okay.
the small sheets are tough, but I'll definitely leave these here. When I take my next pass through, what I usually do is update the date here, so you can see a fresher date. When we're really ready to start building stuff, and that's when the watermark will come off. So you'll see a lot of draft, not for construction until we're ready for construction.
Okay.
So that no one gets confused. But I'll take another pass through these. Probably you'll see another set for me in a couple weeks. I'll update the cost estimate, but I don't think it's gonna move much at this point. And then that next set, we can send to FEMA, or you're welcome to send this set to FEMA.
Is 2026 a realistic construction?
Yeah.
time?
The other thing, or one last thing, because it's 5 years ago, it would take about a week or two. Now it takes forever. Bridges this size need easements on all four corners. Just for, even if it's just for construction access, just for elbow room to dig something that deep. 49.5 feet wide, which is 3 rod road, which is what most roads are. Sounds like a lot. It's not, it's, it feels very tight. So when you're going to this depth, this span, this everything, you'll need easements on all four corners. Some landowners will drive down that day and sign a piece of paper immediately for the town. Others just have a bone to pick with the town and take forever. So for 2026, I would start doing at least initial reach outs to landowners now.
Mhm.
Just take their temperature, say, hey, we're working on plans, we'll have something to show you soon. We can do site visits, you'll need your attorney. Most towns have their attorney draft up an easement. Some towns have it on file that they just recycle. It's up to you guys. Some towns still do handshake deals or email authorizations. With FEMA, 50% of the time at the end of the project, we'll say, show me your easements.
Yeah.
I would say get easements.
Mhm.
It's, and if you can get those now. And they're put on the shelf, it saves a whole lot of hand wringing when you're like, we're good to go to bed, we were missing one easement, you know,
Right.
like
Or figure out that one person that's gonna give us a
a hard time.
difficult time.
Sometimes people want compensation, what I tell is. You don't want me being the first point of contact, and you don't want your lawyer being the first point of contact. Don't have your lawyer call them out of the blue and say, I want an easement. It works well if you know them, if a select board member knows them, or what, if you don't know them at all, you know, a nice letter, email, something. Just don't get the lawyer involved right off. Once they warm up and understand the project and understand what you're asking, then it's good to have the lawyer draft up an easement.
Their portion of the land will be put to its existing
unless there's something else on there, like the corner of an abutment or rock armor
or
or
tree.
so trees that are really close will go away. Hard to put them back when they're,
Yeah,
big.
50 feet tall.
Yeah. So that's, trees are usually sticking points. I don't think we have a whole lot of trees, but where there will be some. It's a deep hole. It just, by the time you dig down, you slope it back, it's gonna be a big hole before it gets to a smaller hole. So, most folks are very for the projects. Like I said, we can, every once in a while I've had it where they feel like they got a bad deal on their tax bill 5 years ago and forever we're against the tax. I've had all kind of weird stuff. So, reach out now. After you guys do the initial reach out, I'm happy to explain my own plans to them. Roll down the back of the tailgate, show a point at stuff, and that, if people are on the fence, usually that kind of smooths things over, but you guys are the great first point, I'll be the second point for sure.
Well, we did that on German Flats Road, right? Remember, we met with all the landowners, and as a matter of fact, I think we have the easements drawn up, right?
Yeah.
So that they'd probably be very similar in this
Who's
case.
your town attorney?
So is that the
Barlow.
toll bridge?
Jim Barlow.
Oh, Jim Barlow, yeah, I've done a bunch with Jim, so he's got a good, these are like usually 1 or maybe 2 pages. Very simplified wording, usually it's $10. Jim's got a very good, Jim's done a lot, so
Yeah.
he's very good.
Okay,
Perfect,
all right.
thank you guys.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Tyler. Thanks for coming, and again, thanks for all the help you've.
Yeah, if questions come up after you guys kind of peel through these, don't be afraid to give me a call or email or whatever, and we'll talk to you. We'll see another set coming here, a couple weeks.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, have a good night. Okay, we ready to move on? Here's the next item on the agenda, setting the 2025 tax rate with our treasurer, Sarah Stavraki, to guide us through the process here.
Forgot my glasses, I can't see him. You want that? Yeah, I went home and I didn't bring. You want this? No, I was all out.
Yeah.
See it.
So, all you guys can set today is the town tax rate. We can't set the local agreement rate because we need the education rate to do that. So. The town tax rate right now is basically the same as it was last year, up to potentially 0.001 of a penny. Because you guys pretty much level funded.
Right.
So I set the tax rate out to 4 decimal points. You guys can decide to round it down to 2 decimal points and it'll be the exact same. as last year.
We don't have a surplus.
No,
That's a net.
no fund balance.
Yes, so,
Yeah, maybe,
yeah, but even then,
maybe something previous.
use it to buy overs. Use it to buy overs. They seem to be dropping like flies.
So essentially, the funds that you guys need to raise this year are actually a little higher than last year because our income is down. Mostly because of the state road funds are
Mhm.
half of what they normally are. So that's why what the funds that you need to raise are slightly higher than last year, even though you guys level funded. If that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we were up, our budget was up 0.04%,
Correct.
and the tax rate's gonna go up what percent?
Point,
0.1?
Where's 4?
0.02%.
0.02. Yeah,
I can read that.
So the tax rate's going up less.
Unless, so right now, so that's the tax rate as I calculated at 0.4. I can't read, 4101. Last year it was 0.41. You guys could decide that you only want 2 decimal places and then the tax rate will be exactly the same as it was last year. That's pretty much the only decision.
Mhm.
The grand list did go up. It was just over 4 million, it was 4,219,000 last year. This year, the grand list value was 4,019,889.
So it's down?
No, it's up,
Oh.
about 19,000, which is really 1.9 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the grand list value isn't the total assessed value, it says total assessed value divided by 100.
So our decision tonight is whether to go 0.41 or 0.4101.
Basically, yes, yes, because you have no fund balance to make a decision about,
Right, which we learned,
which, just, yeah.
we'll have to talk about at budget time, but. Yeah, There is a way to do it that Sarah's discovered, but we could talk about it at budget time. If we put money directly into a fund that's identified as fund balance, then you
Yeah.
can use it at the end of the
Got it.
year. But that's nothing we do
You're
right
supposed
now.
to, you're supposed to set a tax rate based on what the voters voted on,
Right.
not the voters plus,
Which we did last year.
yeah. exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe not in previous years. Okay.
So I would say
That's all
stay with the 4 decimal places.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
if it's no more difficult, it's more accurate.
It's no more
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
What I'm not sure what you guys have done in the past, so the local agreement tax rate, because you guys have to make a motion for the town tax rate. I'm assuming you also have to make a motion for the local agreement. So how do you want to handle that? Because once I get the state rate, then I can figure out how much we need to raise to make up. for
Mhm.
that
Which you're
first.
thinking sometime around July 1st,
Send them up sometime around July 1.
and we wouldn't have a meeting until like 2 weeks after.
So I don't know if you wanna hold a quick meeting or if it's something that you're allowed to do by email. I don't really know how you wanna get that.
Well,
Because
it's
I'd
so
like to be
different
able to get,
than the other meeting.
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to get the tax bills out.
right. I think we should just get this done and then
Wait,
set up a small meeting.
quick one.
Right.
Boom.
Okay.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we stay with the 4 decimal point 4101. As our tax rate.
Well, second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye? Okay. And then we will rally when you get the state rate, and then we'll figure out what we need.
What
to-
is like the warning? Is it like Friday? That's usually
So
one
for
Friday.
a special meeting, just 24 hours, I think.
I think,
Oh.
yeah. I think so.
It's so,
That would be special.
well, I'm not fancy.
Well, let's not do it at 7 AM.
6:30?
Oh, no, that's right, but you may have to get out, you may have to get out of town. Well, I'll do it whenever we can make it happen, I'll do it. So,
Chuck, can you repeat the final tax rate for point?
0.4101.
Thank you.
So you have what you need,
I have what you.
okay, thank you,
Thanks.
yes. You do the same. Now we'll see if we can get Joshua out of here, and after a couple of hot, busy days, so. Tucker Hill. All right, the next item on the agenda is a culvert replacement request for Tucker Hill. For Lauren Colich, and, so. What I'd like to do is just make a couple of comments about what we have so far, and then essentially close the hearing. So we'll stop taking input and make our decision. And with this meeting tonight, so, I would just say that Lauren was our last meeting on June 10th. And that she laid out for us pretty clearly what her desire was, and that if I net all up that all conversation out, it was that she bought the culvert already, which we saw on our site visit. And that she would like us to install the culvert for her. So that's essentially how that broke out, right? And the details of that conversation are in the minutes of June 10th. Then we went on a site visit on the 18th, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And we asked her at the site visit, she give us some dates of when she had events that impacted her culvert. And she emailed those to us, so I'll just read the email so that it becomes public record. That she said Hurricane Irene in 2001 impacted.
2011.
2011, thank you. I'm gonna have you watch everything I say now, make sure I got
No, you're
it.
good.
Memorial Day weekend in 2013, and that, after that, her culvert was upsized. In July 2023, there was a flooding event. She didn't give any more details on that, whether it impacted the culvert or not. In December of 2023, there was another flooding event. In July of 2024, we had the event that impacted us here in Facein pretty heavily all around town. And then there were two storms in May of 2025, which led us to go up there this last time and led her to come in here and ask for us to install the culvert. So I just wanted to get that on as a,
Can you just, tell me, what year did she upsize it to the existing culvert?
she said in 2013. After Memorial Day weekend in 2013, the culvert was upsized.
So none of the events past there actually washed the culvert out.
I don't think the culvert was damaged, but right, she said that she had to do driveway repairs every time.
Yeah.
Driveway
Yeah.
repairs,
Right, yeah.
That kind of stuff. So with that information, I'd like to have a motion to close the hearing on her requests. And which means that we're not gonna take any further testimony. Or public input. There's nobody here to do that anyway, but that officially will close that area off, and then we can get into the discussion on our decision.
Yeah.
So I'd make that motion that we close the hearing on the Lauren Polich request.
I'd second that.
Mike seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, let's discuss what we think about what we've heard and seen and all of that other good stuff. Somebody want to start it? Want me to start?
Yeah, you're free.
I.
Yeah, I guess I can. You know, after going up there, meeting with her, reviewing this, I went back, also reviewed basically our highway access ordinance. And it seems pretty cut and dry that all the accesses are to be installed and to be maintained by property owners. And, you know, changing that for one specific resident, I don't think is a fair use of the regulation, you know? I think it just goes around it for, you know, for no particular reason. I understand that, you know, there have been several events there, but there have been several events all over town. It's just the conditions we currently live in. We're getting more water from really intense storms. And we have no way to change that by the town. So I really, I feel that it's just the property owner's responsibility to maintain their access to the road. I know while we're up there, there are others that, you know, we don't have a program that does look at culverts that are problematic and go to the owners. And maybe that's something from this that we need to really start looking at.
Would that be part of the culvert inventories we've been doing, you know, assessing the,
No, the culvert, I mean, wow. The inventories that we have currently are just road crossings. Yeah.
So, like, I agree with you, and I think also, the town hasn't really done anything wrong. And we are changing, we're doing our best, we're changing, was that culvert plan to be changed to a 36 this year? Or did the event
event made that decision.
So, you know, we're changing that culvert to bigger, and I think, to add on to what Mike said about, you know, being proactive and checking culverts, we got our hands full anyway, checking our own culverts. But we did mention about trying to get that, agricultural access to be a bigger than an 18, is that what it is?
Oh, I think it's like 12.
Yeah,
Well,
or maybe a 15.
And we could probably, you know, try to act on that. And Josh did mention that, I remember Lauren was saying that the town kept asking her to step the culvert back further. And if that hurts things, and you said you could bring it closer to the town road, I think we should address that.
Yeah.
You know, give advice or, what might work better for the ditch.
Right.
And that's specifically written into our,
So I think that, you know, that's what we can provide. We can provide a bigger culvert up. We can ask the landowner to increase their size, and, you know, that's probably 50-50 at best. But then, you know, realign her culvert. suggest that we realign it, and I think, the rest of it is, that, because it was upsized in 2013, what's the normal, not when do we replace culverts, but what's the normal life of a culvert?
It depends on the road, but I mean, we have some culverts that are 40, 50 years old that we're replacing.
Yeah.
If they're not damaged. On the inlets from being dug up if they're plugged, because when they're plugged and buried, it's hard to know exactly where they are, and some of those are still, they were tar bottomed, most of them. But
And
I don't think they last quite as long nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't wash your culvert out, you fixed the road or driveway, I think we did the right things along the way.
And I'd have to agree with both of you, our regulations state that it's the landowner's responsibility to maintain, install and maintain the culvert. I feel badly that her driveway is in a place where it's impacted by the flooding events that we've had. But it is what it is, the curb cut is there, it was probably at the time the best place to put the curb cut, to have the driveway there, so. But she's in a spot where that stuff comes running down the hill in this last storm event, when everything got plugged up the hill and overflowed and.
Yeah,
And as I look at over the years and 2025, 23, 24, Tropical Storm Irene in 2011, I'm gonna get that one right this time. They were all abnormal events. I mean, I don't know if this is any normal today, but I mean, the rain events are becoming more and more abnormal. And I don't think, Mike, I think you said that's the town's responsibility to have to deal with that. We didn't do anything wrong. We ditched and put the culverts in the sizes that we thought were right, and so I don't think it's the town's responsibility either. So it's sounding like we're come to an agreement that and maybe I'll make the motion that we deny the request of Lauren's request for the town to install the culvert that she's purchased. So that would be my motion.
Second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, thank you for that, any other discussion, thank you, Josh, for your input as well. You want to do a quick road foreman update while we are here?
sure.
He loves it.
We have since the last meeting, we have our culverts in. Delivered, we're installing them on Tucker Hill. I have 5 left to install.
Out of how many?
I did one today, one yesterday,
7, right?
and I did one before. And I had to dig one up and clean it out, it was a newer one that was plugged. And that was it for that road for now.
So
I skipped a few on the road, just for fun, I didn't have enough money to purchase every culvert. So I upsized some. Well, I upsized all of them. But I think that will help the ones that aren't getting changed, alleviate some of the watershed onto those. The one I'm doing tomorrow is a 36-inch. Probably 200 feet up from Lauren's driveway. That's
the one that we looked at, right?
Yeah. I culverts all assembled, ready to go in tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do 2 culverts on the road tomorrow. Try to get as much done as we can. There will be some closures and inconveniences, but we'll try to be as quick as possible with that. And then as soon as Tucker Hill's done, I'm gonna move on to sharpshooters and do debris cleanup for FEMA.
What's the date on that?
July 11th, it's due.
Is that all FEMA that's due by July 11th?
No, just the debris.
Debris. Is that all the debris that's left?
Yeah. Um. I talked to Pike last week. They said maybe the end of this week for paving on German Flats. I haven't heard anything else. So maybe the end of this week or
They
next
did-
week.
They did some more marking last week.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful it'll be soon.
And Dunbar Hill is done,
Dunbar Hill is done.
which is, looks
Except for
good.
one culvert that doesn't part of FEMA, right?
No, that's,
We're waiting for an H&H study on that one. I think that is part of,
Was it?
yeah. Well, yeah, it's the only one that was at the bottom of
It's a-
Dunbar Hill that wasn't,
yeah, and that's done.
and that was done. That was the only one that wasn't FEMA related.
And
But
then
it's not part of the Dunbar Hill project.
not part of the RFP. But it is part of,
So that has to
For
be
FEMA.
done before we can get paid by FEMA.
Well, no, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
right.
Yeah, it's part of a different project
Right.
than Dunbar Hill. It's,
Oh, okay,
That's right.
it's broken into different projects.
okay, so we,
So yes, it's
Can-
Dunbar Hill, but
yes, we can apply
I
to
have
that
a-
completion for that
yeah.
project.
I have a question that maybe Sarah would know, but you might. So the state doesn't pay its 17.5% until all FEMA projects are closed.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I heard
Okay.
that's true.
Okay,
So I was just wondering, my question would have been to Sarah, does that include the 2 new bridges? Because that's
That's
the,
a long time.
so is it each
Yeah.
project, is it each project though? Cause we have them like broken into
No.
multiple projects, or is it
with-
just in
with-
general?
my understanding from Sarah is that the state pays 17.5%. FEMA pays when that project's, or it goes into their to be paid.
Yeah.
The state won't put it in there to be paid until all the FEMA projects are done. So their 17.5% is gonna be a
Mm,
long time. I was just curious if that was for the
Yes.
bridges, the permanent bridges as well,
mm,
and the design.
mm. That'd be terrible if that happens. With the long-term project for the permanent bridges, well, let's find out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would be built in 2026. Or, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
Tyler
yeah.
came to think,
Yeah,
but still,
And then
it's
so you
stretched.
submit the end of 2026.
Anyway, it'd be worth,
Yeah,
I should
that's
ask for
enough.
shoes here.
Mm. mm. Anything else, sir?
not that I can think of.
Okay.
I'm sure there's something, but.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Head home, get some sleep.
Have a good night.
All
Yeah,
right,
bye, Josh.
thank you, Josh. Okay, we don't have any other business, so we're moving on to read the mail and sign the warrant.
No mail.
No mail, sign the warrant.
Josh.
Is that the feedback?
Yeah, one of them. That sweet part, you know.
Yeah.
See, we paid Halston.
Bridge reserve. Maybe, right? Eventually, there's gotta be money out there for something. A bridge that's 100 years old.
Well, it was on the list and they were trying to move it up, but now it's like everything's,
Well, there's much money they're spending,
yeah, on everything else.
See Halston's paid,
but they're getting
Yes.
new bridges for
yeah, so they're gonna be happy that
17 and.
almost immediately after the work is completed, they get paid.
At the gas station, cool, that I'll see you tomorrow. I said, oh, gotta get 2 signatures on it.
Oh.
I said, I'll call you.
Oh, geez, okay.
Nice to have Mike back. What's contact?
Over.
Over, whoa.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I saw,
I
it
think
wasn't, it must not have been posted when I saw the.
Whoa is the right word.
You.
Whoa.
Mhm. It's pretty crazy.
What's that?
That's what happened, we had to buy a lot of them.
Well. Sounds like a lot of them are overdue. We had a couple that failed, right? One on, North Facein and one on Randall. Right, and. The idea would
probably
be
more
to
of the-
change them,
That's
Yeah,
why I'm trying to do this inventory and keep up with it, so then we know like.
you know, I
what
told,
year.
no, I saw, when I was in the town garage, they have a culvert map.
Yes, they do, it's
Are
older
they, are they
though,
numbered?
yes, every culvert is numbered. That's how I keep track of it,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah, yeah, I mean, it's a shame
so like on the,
that it wasn't done before, because you could get a culvert that's 20 years old.
hmm,
And say, we better
so
check on this.
I think it was like in 2013, maybe when they did that MRGP, you know, like the
Yeah.
app thing, so
That
like,
is an app that has all.
This is what-
yeah, we have it. With, but it doesn't always say how old, they didn't know,
Right,
you know, that's. The
Yeah,
whole,
so now it's a state-based app with the master permit.
I can send you over the link, you can look at it, and
no,
It's pretty cool.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
go for it, yeah.
and you
So
just
now we
like
have to-
zoom in on all the culverts and
Put them in.
takes a picture of
Goes
it.
out to this,
So, and then it lists when it was put in, when it was changed. when it-
yeah,
I, just so you know, I had a conversation with Josh last week sometime, I forget, he called me on something and we get to talking about, you know, he was concerned about being almost at or if not over the culvert budget right now. And I told him, I said, you know, don't let that stop you from doing work that needs to be done. If you've got to go past that, talk to us. And we're more than likely gonna approve whatever it is, and we'll have to find a place, someplace else in the budget to cut it back.
yeah,
But-
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, if they, you know, if they're putting out work, you need material,
yes, yeah, exactly.
right? You can't.
And having them fail is much more expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing them on.
Especially on like a Friday,
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
when they will fail.
yeah, which is usually when it happens. All right.
I wanna know if you got your reflective vest yet.
No, I'm not. I need to get
I don't
that.
know what the road foreman's thinking.
I even brought them Gatorades today. Well, I took their water.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're done.